Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Mo Nishiyama. I spoke last year did a lightning talk here at Write the Docs. And this time, I am doing a full 20-minute talk, so I feel like I'm moving up in the world. Gonna give you a little background information about myself. I'm a child of the 80s. Let's just put that out there. I'm a child of the 80s. And I grew up listening to a lot of 80s music, watched a lot of 80s film, and watched all these cartoons and stuff. So if there are any 80s references in there, they may be intentional or they may not be. I'm not telling you that. For those of you who've known me for a long time, I'm also a musician, and I actually played here in this building, technically downstairs at Lola's Lounge when the capacity was like about 25. So it's so weird to be not only, or to go from rocking stage as a musician to speaking at a performance. I mean, the only differences are 10 years ago, 25 people sitting bored while I played. Now, hundreds of people at round tables. So hopefully I'll make you go from ha 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 ha. So yeah, it's gonna put a set list here. It makes me more comfortable. So my talk is called Did It in Minutes. And in case you're wondering, yes, this was influenced by the wonderful minor hit single by Daryl Hall and John Oates. It was called Did It in a Minute. It was the third single from the Private Eyes album. So for most documentation, things like excellent release notes, excellent developer docs, nicely described APIs, and a finely tuned content management system, they are all considered to be the sports cars or the little red Corvettes of the documentation world. Meeting notes or meeting minutes, on the other hand, are like the garbage trucks. They're like, what's so special about meeting notes? Because first of all, they're boring, they're plebeian, and nobody frankly wants to spend their time writing this stuff unless you work for a team where the manager decides that, hey, let's all be fair, democratic, and distribute the workload. We're all gonna take turns writing meeting notes. And as far as I'm concerned, if you are in one of those working the teams that are not very engaging, meetings can be characterized as where people commune with their portable, handheld, or laptop devices, or where they try to challenge themselves against horrifying Angry Birds or Candy Saga Crush, or if you strategically get to the meeting conference room first and sit on the other side of the room from the main speaker, you can catch siesta. And then I picked up a bad habit here at Write the Docs 2013 because I attended the conference here and I became enamored after the Jennifer Hartnett Henderson's talk about sketchnoting. So I started doing that at meetings. And me being an apathetic note taker or meeting attendee, I became really good at drawing the Japanese manga poop. And then I became really good at this stuff. And then at the time, I was working in a team that had really toxic culture, so I was really not excited about the stuff that we wrote. So while other people were communing with their handheld devices, I was just pretending to be taking notes, and I was practicing my sketchnoting, and I became really good at writing poop. So 6 months ago, we had a new change in management, and I was sitting in the meetings across the conference room from the new boss, and of course I was doing my own thing, writing more stuff, and my boss looked at me and goes, hey, you look like you're really interested and engaged. I'm gonna assign you to take weekly notes from this point on. I'm thinking, oh, what the hell? Then I realized that, wait a minute, all this time I viewed meeting notes as a form of regurgitation. And I realized that, I need to go ahead and change my attitude and more become engaged with writing notes. So I thought, what can I do to improve and find a new way, find an METHODOFNOTE method of modern note-taking. So I went from regurgitation to curation. And the first thing I asked myself, instead of just regurgitating notes, how do I curate this? So I've realized the important thing for me is to understand my audience. Who are the people who are at the meeting or not at the meeting? Absentee people, are they someone who work in my own team across functional organizations? Are they from different business units? Are they internal, external? Are they engineers? Are they documentarians? Are they executives? So trying to find out who my audience is has helped me get to the next point. Oh, by the way, if you don't understand your audience, and if you say, I'm just writing this for myself, that's a really crappy attitude to have. So once you identify your audience, you want to go ahead and create a shared need. What are the things that people are going to get the most out of in these notes? So first thing I did was I thought about, well, meeting notes, do I just go ahead and copy and paste agenda items and then just add what happened in there? No, I disregarded chronology. What happens at the beginning of the meeting doesn't really necessarily need to go on the top. I'm going to use a recent example. For those Portlanders, Trailblazers beat the Rockets last Friday on the last second shot. Wow, actually I was not expecting that response. So every news paper article or online article that I read, all of them said, Damian Lillard's last minute shot won the game for the Blazers or something. None of the articles started out with, 3 hours ago, so-and-so made a first shot. So I try to approach it, avoid chronology. Apologies to the people who are sitting up in the back. You may not be able to see this. I'm going to go ahead and give you a before and after example of a hypothetical meeting notes. This is a before meeting note. 4 things that are talked about. First of all, Sarah gets a customer service award winner for the month of March. Then we got a new document vendor, and then we got a new dress code policy where if you do not adhere to the policy, it may lead to disciplinary action up to and including termination from your employment. And then the 4th thing there is Slothware 2.0, document revision, due by noon this Thursday. By the way, I was told that sloth are the unofficial or the official mascot of Write the Docs. So action items, make sure that you turn in your documentation revision. So let's say that the meetings happen in that chronological order. But what's really important to the people? Put the important stuff like the dress code changes and the documentation revision at top. Use something like red text or something to kind of emphasize to the people that, hey, if you continue to wear lanyards or engage in other violation of dress code policy, you're going to get shit canned from your job. I think that's going to get people's attention. And if you do not turn in your document review by a certain time, we're going to get our asses handed down by our competitor, Bonobo Writer. And yeah, the other things are important too, like, hey, set up an account with the Iron Mountain Man. Yeah, Sarah got the awards. Everybody cheered. We all got to see Sarah smile. That was nice, but that's not really important. Another thing is WTF, write the fact. There are many meetings where heated discussions or healthy discourse take place, but if you're in a situation where you're trying to recapitulate everything as, well, John doesn't like the new dress code policy because his shirts doesn't match the new clip-ons, or Jenny doesn't like the fact that John doesn't like it because John dresses like a slob. It's like, it's all personal and stuff. You want to make sure that you focus on the facts and just say something diplomatic like, there was a healthy discourse regarding the new dress code policy. Some things are better left unsaid. You want to be diplomatic and summarizing things. You do not want to be writing 88 lines about 44 opinions. Engaging your subject matter experts is a really good practice for meeting notes. When you're busy taking notes and someone's going off about some new technology that you are only tangentially familiar with, take a moment to pull the subject matter expert aside and say, hey, could you go ahead and clarify this, or could you make sure that I got this information accurately? Subject matter experts, by engaging them before you commit something to publishing them, it will save lots of assumptions, and you know what happens if you start assuming things. Subject matter experts can help you identify, clarify, and classify information. And action items. Make sure that when you include action items, that action items are clear. You want to make sure that who, what, and when are defined. Because if you want to get things done in your business, in your organization, you got to hold people accountable. You don't want to get in a situation where you put some vague goals in the meeting notes and people are going to look at it later and goes, well, I can't go for that. No can do. You want to go ahead and make sure that you give him or her enough resources or negotiate with him saying, hey, this is what you need to do between that time. You need to go ahead and turn in that document review for Sloth Writer 2.0. Meeting note distribution. Here's a thing that I recently discovered. This is a long time honored tradition of attaching notes in an email format. It's like you write your meeting notes in Microsoft Word, Notepad, Simple Text, Claris Mac Write Pro 2.0, whatever. Collaborative platforms, for example, Google Docs, and for those who use enterprise software like Microsoft SharePoint, the shared documents are better because for perfection like me, I usually discover that after I send published meeting notes, I discover there are usually factual mistakes or maybe there's some embarrassing typos in there that shouldn't be there. Collaborative environments will save you from that hassle because no one is, unless your system has versioning turned on, no one's going to really notice that you made a typo, grammatical mistake, you left out a factual, made a factual error, or that you conjugated your verbs wrong. No one's going to remember that stuff. So avoid emails is just a crappy practice. Another best practice I recently discovered is using templates to save time, and I'm going to go ahead and just, for apologies to those people in the Bob Euchre row up there, basically, I make a file with just templates of formatting, and the best thing I learned is you can use redonkulous blocks of text to go ahead and, just so you know, yeah, next time I'll change it before I publish it. Or you can use your favorite Susan Vega song lyrics, or you can use hipster ipsum. But just so you know that next time you'll go ahead and, after the next meeting, you'll change the text that's there. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a really, really bad example of a recent team meeting notes that were written and distributed by one of my technical team leads. This is my old team that I left about a couple weeks ago because as of last week, I became a sheriff for my new organization. So I kind of like blurred out the parts to save embarrassments. But when you look at a note like this, it doesn't really say who, where, what in most of these cases. So something like this is going to raise more questions than answer them. It's not really cool. Because in my opinion, good documentation should help reduce the number of questions for you and the organization. I'm going to give you a couple of quick tips. Now, sometimes meeting notes can get long-winded despite your best intentions, and people are going to say, too long, didn't read. So how do you combat that? I actually found a great way to get people to read the stuff is to offer Easter eggs. Chocolates are great things. Like stick in the bottom paragraph, hey, if you can tell me what's not allowed anymore in the new dress code, you get a bar of chocolate. And actually, you can get really good chocolates over at Whole Foods a couple blocks down or at Cacao a couple blocks down. Highly recommend those places. Or if your workplace allows you to have adult libation, you could say, hey, if you finish your code review or documentation review by Wednesday afternoon, I will treat you to a pint of ruby red ale back there. And people do respond to that, and you condition people to start looking at the notes instead of falling into the too long, didn't read syndrome. And it's okay to add humor and adds personality to your notes. This is actual notes that I've written for my teammates, and yes, dress code policy. Yes, I think I'll dye my hair blue. I'm sure that maybe 2 people on my entire team have missing person's greatest hits, but and as always, there are exceptions to the rules. There are some organizations where chronology is important and you can't really deviate from that. For example, school board meetings. And there are some situations where you have to do everything verbatim. Legal depositions, my condolences. And there are some situations you have restrictions placed upon you by the organization, such as style guide restrictions. Some companies may want you to actually use 13-point Comic Sans MS in salmon pink. When you have that, you got two choices. One, you can go ahead and corner the policymaker and show them the errors of their ways, or if they're unwilling to budge from the oppressive and tyrannical policy that they have in demand on using, you can meet other people here at this conference and look for other opportunities. Finally, effective meeting notes are good business reasons. Because when you write effective meeting notes, that allows you to focus on your 99 projects instead of spending time being interrupted by the people who were physically or mentally absent from the meeting because they're too busy playing with their cell phones trying to get that level 150 of Candy Crush Saga. By having good meeting notes, it frees you and gives you more time to work on high value projects and endeavors, such as writing better documentations. Thank you.